Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone to check out our sponsors, Rancho Bravo Tacos. They have two locations, Capitol Hill and Wallingford. The Capitol Hill location has a drive-through, so it makes it super convenient to pick something up before you go home, before you go to a gathering, a party, pick some tamales up, be the hit of the party and take some Rancho Bravo tacos. And then also the Sneakers Friend. The Sneakers Friend is a sneaker cleaner kit that will help you extend the life of your shoes. So if you have a particular pair of shoes that you really love and possibly can't get anymore, keep them looking good. Clean them. Clean the soles, clean the sides of them. Keep them looking good, and the Sneakers Friend will help you do that. Or if you're a sneakerhead and you have to clean your shoe after every time you wear it, the Sneakers Friend. Keep them looking good. In this show, I speak with Gina Grad. I've been a huge fan of Gina Grad for a while, for a long time. She was on the Adam Carolla Show, one of the most popular podcasts ever. Adam's been doing it for well over a decade. And I was a little bit nervous talking to Gina. She makes me laugh every day when you would hear her on Adam Carolla, you just laugh. She did lots of very funny bits and super quick, super witty, super clever, had great one-liners. And she would do this thing where she would do a one-liner, but very soft, like almost whispered into the mic, just enough to have it be heard that would just crack you up. Well, I get everything going. I set up to make sure that nothing goes wrong. So everything, my audition was working great. Mic sounded great. We do a Zoom call. We start talking and I get carried away and then just jump right into the conversation. And what do I not do? Press record on the video in Zoom. So I have audio and that sounds great, but I'm so disappointed in myself that I did not get video of this call. So for you watching on YouTube, you'll get to see a picture of Gina alongside, well, not my face, but alongside me in the studio. But it was a great conversation. She is an author. She wrote this book that's going to be extremely helpful to stepmoms and families with stepchildren, and my extra mom, and how to bond with your stepkids. Very important. So check that out. All of that information is going to be in the show notes. But without further ado, let's get the show going. Well, hello, Gina Grad. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man. I'm nervous, actually.
Don't be nervous. Oh, my God.
Not that I'm ranking, but the next person that I've had that has, lots of downloads on their podcast is Mike Boudet from Sword and Scale.
Love that.
He was nice enough during quarantine. I sent him a message and I'm like, hey, he was probably bored, right? So he said yes. And we had a super lighthearted chat with that. But man, I'm very excited to chat with you.
Me too. I think I already know it's going to go swimmingly.
I'm usually drinking, but I'm not drinking. I won't drink today.
I mean, it's fine with me. You're not driving me home.
So, Gina, I've been listening to you for a super long time, and you make me laugh every single day. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of the background of where you are up until now.
Sure. Thank you so much. I assume we're talking about radio, because that's pretty much been my entire adulthood. But if we're not, if we want to go back just a skosh further, I moved here. I got a job working in retail on Rodeo Drive. It was a nightmare. I hated every moment of it because I'm bad at it. There are people who are career retailers who drive the most expensive cars and have the best life. I'm not that guy. I was terrible at it. I would sell people suits and then go put them downstairs to have them hemmed and then lose them all the time. I was horrible at it. So I finally couldn't take it anymore. And I called my dad, who was working at KNX. He was a sports announcer for a million years. And I said, you gotta help me. I gotta get out of this. And this is when I always say, oh, yes, nepotism runs in the
Right.
family. And, anytime, it doesn't happen often, but where someone goes, oh, sure, you were in radio because daddy got you a job. I say, yes, you are so right. He pulled strings. I got an interview where I wore a suit because I did not know how radio people dressed. I got an interview at 97.1 KLSX, which was the big FM talk station. And I was put as the glamorous job of minimum wage call screener overnight weekends during the public access channel hour. So yes, I am the epitome of nepotism.
Of benefiting from nepotism.
That was but at least I had someone who could get me that interview, and then I kept climbing and climbing.
Yeah, I speak to a lot of friends, and when it comes to anything political or anything business, if a kid benefits from the dad, it's an automatic, he doesn't deserve it. But I think that's a little bit unfair to the person, to the kid, because if he's successful at it and then it just works. Then he had a leg up, but yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of that. I think you got to take advantage of every single chance you got.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will yes and you and say, hey, there are so many people in the world that, they do what their parents did. Like, oh, I'm an orthodontist because I come from a long line of orthodontists. Sure. I'm a shoe cobbler. I'm a whatever. So a family business is a family business. Now, was I given the keys to a family business? No. But at the very least, I knew. And there's so many things that our parents do for us that we try and we just kind of float away from. But when I kicked in that door and started call screening from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m, I at least knew I was in the right place. And I've been there for, almost 20 years.
Yeah, and that's a tough shift too. That's a super tough one.
God. And it was rough stuff. It was like the third shift. Plus I was working 60 hours a week on Rodeo, and I was driving Friday to Sunday to San Diego to do a show for free there, and driving home and doing comedy at night. So my dance card was full, and I was living very luxuriously. I don't know if you're familiar with the Echo Park area before it got gentrified. I moved down to
little iffy.
It can be a little much. I moved down as I don't want to be crass right out of the gate, but as Tim Conway Jr. always said, I moved to the corner of rape and murder, and I lived there by myself, and I was surrounded by cockfights and dog fights and gangbangers who I'd have to ask nicely to please take their Slurpees off my car so I could get to work. And it was a very wacky time for Gina.
Well, personality. It built character and personality.
I think it did.
Now that, aside from getting the foot in the door, you being able to manage that schedule, wacky hours. So, that, again, the people who have these opportunities take advantage of them, and then our actual hard workers, it's going to go well for them.
Yeah.
But you don't always need that you don't always need that help. You can make your own opportunities too. Oh, so for example, my dad worked at a box factory. He, every time when my wife and I watched that episode of The Simpsons where they go to a box factory and Bart falls into a machine and then there's just Bart's hat. My wife and I will joke that if my dad's factory had take your son to work day, that would have happened.
That would have been you.
Yeah. Because he made boxes, and every now and then he would, a gift to me would be to bring a big box, like a big wardrobe box that they use for moving. Sure. Because then I turned that into cars and forts and castles. People don't understand that the kids are like cats. Don't spend money on the thing. They want the box. It's all about the box. That is so cool. Boxes everywhere. But watching my dad work really hard and 60 hours a week and not having time to do any of the other stuff that it's like, maybe I want to do a little bit easier work and not work so hard. Which then the first thing I did was go and get a job at a factory. But at least it was, at least it did provide a career in machining. So like for Adam's show, when he talks about building and fabricating,
yeah,
I super relate to that because
yes.
I didn't do exactly that, but I did do some machining and some manual stuff.
And you were in that world, and that puts you right there in rarefied air that you know what he's talking about and I don't. And it was that way for 8 years.
I love that towards the end there, Brian would ask questions for you. That would make me laugh.
Yeah, to save a little face, to save a little masculinity. Gina was wondering what a piston is.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, just to answer your question. So 97.1, I did that for 3 years until it flipped formats, which is very common in radio. We flip from, you couldn't pay 6 morning show salaries a day because it was a talk station. So all people did. It was fun. Yeah. And so that flipped to music. I went on to KFI, which is a big sort of the crown jewel news talk station here. Produced, went to a place called Premier Radio, where this was pretty fun. I spent my full-time job was to sit there and do radio jingles and celebrity impressions and comedy bits, and did that until I got the Mark in the morning show here at 100.3 The Sound, which was a classic rock station, which I got a week before I got the Corolla show. So the schedule was get up at 3 a.m., go to the morning show, finish the morning show, prep for Adam, go home. Then that station flipped to, I want to say, Christian contemporary rock. Stayed with Adam, went to KFI, and then flipped the hours. So I would go to Adam first, then go to KFI all night until about midnight and rinse and repeat. And so, yeah, we're just, always just kind of looking for another place to talk.
You know what? I love that. I love to talk. I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, why do you do a podcast? No one listens. I'm like, yeah, maybe. But you know what? I can talk for a super long time. And I might not say, anything insightful, anything that's going to be written in the history books. But I think that conversations are way better than the headlines that we read across all social. It's like a little bit deeper. I have friends who get frustrated with me when we're talking about something, and it doesn't always have to be important, but if it's something with substance, they'll say, get to your point. I'm like, you can't just there's layers here. Like you have to know why X, Y, and Z. And it seems like that nuance is kind of lost nowadays. And podcasting is just a beautiful platform to be able to do that.
It's really ironic that you just said you'd never say something that would end up in the history books, because you just crystallized why people podcast. So give yourself a little credit, because I am serious. You need to go back, time code this, and say, I told you so. You are so right. We have no more attention span. We have no more patience. Even my patience from when I was a kid has dwindled because of the opportunity, the technological opportunity that is now in front of us. So you're absolutely right. This is a place where we can sort of piece out our ideas and really think, and not just go, well, what's the life hack? Well, what do I do to 10x my life? No. Yeah. We're having a conversation. Thank you. We're having a conversation.
I super love that. And well, in having said that, in your whole career of talking and prepping, do things just sometimes go haywire where you think it's going to go one way, but then what you prepped for doesn't really fit? And like, how do you, my show, that happens almost every single time, because I actually did write a few things and I'm already way off track. But
that's my fault. It's always my fault.
No. It's me. But have there been times where you get, how do you hide? I guess it could be frustration. It could be like, man, I really wanted to say this, and then now I don't want to, put my foot down and say, no, we're gonna chat about that. Is that just how you just go with the flow?
Again, this is something I have you must really get how news and radio works, because that's the first time I've ever been asked that. And that happens a lot. And no one would know to ask that. So thank you for asking that. Yes. Yeah. And I am a person who hates having to redo stuff. And, you know, as I teach the little child in our house, like, it's okay, take it apart and redo it. And I could see the frustration on his face. And I just want to be like, kid, I get it. Nobody wants to work hard on something and then take it apart and redo it. So when news pivots like that, I hate it. I am not a go with the flow person. I think I have done such a good job creating the impression that I am just sort of go with the flow, because I think it's important in this career that you know, you don't seem stubborn and that you are very fluid. And I have had to learn how to do that, because with ADD, and I'm sorry, diagnosed when I was 12, not from like an app. This was long before those were invented. I need to know when things are happening, why they're happening, what, very important, when will they end? That's why I always say, I'd love to talk. How long would you like to talk? Just so I have an idea of, my brain just wants to know as much as possible. So when I work on something and I say, okay, this is what it's going to be, and then, you know, and the news changes, it's frustrating for anyone because nobody wants to pivot at the last minute. But for someone like me with words that did not exist when I was a kid, like neurodivergent, what's that? I thought that was like a sci-fi movie. I really do feel like the rug gets pulled out from under me when things don't go the way I've planned them to go. That being said, working at KFI and being on, you know, as you know, like on a clock on terrestrial radio, you know, you have to hit your mark, the commercial and the this and the that, and the sound only plays for this long. And at first it was terrifying to change something at the last minute. I hated it. I had nonstop anxiety. I was so scared. My heart was pounding. And by the time, you know, I had been doing it a while, I literally, like the real professionals do, was retyping as I was talking. And that's just a skill you learn. That's not fun at first, to be very trial by fire, but you do learn how to do the job and to pivot when necessary.
What came to mind was the classic Bill O'Reilly video where he does a couple takes. It's like, F it, we'll do it live. And then
okay. I did not see myself getting up this morning and say, I would like to speak on behalf of Bill O'Reilly, but here we are. At first, okay, it's hilarious. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves when somebody goes insane. A hot mic, a hot gotcha mic is the greatest thing ever. Yeah. But if anyone were to spend 5 minutes doing what that man has to do, which is essentially traffic copping, at some point you go, like, look, are we all on the same team or are we not on the same team? Help me. You know what? F it. I'll do it myself. I get the frustration. We've all been there. I've seen it. I've felt it. I've seen other people do it in my studio. You know, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen everything. So
that's so funny.
I do have sympathy for finally going, you know what? They're just F it. I'll do it. Shut up.
And, you know, I was showing that to my wife the other day, and I was looking for the YouTube video. Yeah. And there's a bunch of them where it only has him going nuts. Yeah. But they cut out him actually nailing it right when it went live. Because that's what I wanted her to see. I wanted her to see how he composed himself in half a second. And then boom.
Thank God. You get it. You get it. I don't care about politically, philosophically. I don't care. That man turned it on when he needed to, and you saw it as well.
Super impressive. Yeah. That is super impressive. So I sent out a little story today on my Instagram where I took a picture of my setup here. And I wish you could see my table. I just painted it. It's like a beach. It's a beach scene, but done in resin.
Excuse me? Are you like also a craftsman when it comes to that?
Oh, you know, I don't paint. I'm not really an artist, but I like to pour paint on stuff. And when I get a little bit stressed out, I take on projects. So with this particular one, and I'll send you a picture of it on Twitter. I spent about 10 days making it. It's out of resin. It looks like a beach. I got a table for free off of Craigslist, and I thought, you know what? I've never done this before, but let me do it on a 5-foot table.
Oh my, yeah, just a teeny tiny little project just to see if it works.
Yeah, just a little test run. So I put out a story on Instagram, and I said, super special guest next week. Guess who? And then I put a picture of Rose from Street Fighter V.
Oh my God.
So we'll see how many of my friends pick up pick up that.
That is fantastic. And by the way, you said you're not really an artist. You just like to pour paint on stuff. Ever heard of Jackson Pollock? He did okay doing that. So I would give yourself some credit.
I get into the rabbit hole of YouTube of art stuff. And then I'm like, hey, that looks pretty cool. I can do that. Like, you just got to pour paint on stuff.
That is so cool.
Not drawing or anything, just paint.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
So no, I have our kitchen and little den area that has a tile floor has a ton of resin smudges all over it. My wife is not happy.
I was gonna say, how's that working out in the relationship?
Yeah, I have to spend a few hours and clean that. But voiceovers for video games, how does that work?
How does it work? As in, what is it like when you go in the studio, or how did that even happen?
Sure. So you have a script, but are they like playing? Do you see the character in action and the hayas and
yes. So this is going to be very specific to video games, and basically Japanese animation, because that's what that's the niche that I've found when it comes to things like Family Guy or a DreamWorks, a Pixar movie that I can't speak to, because they might be doing a lot of times they don't have any reference. But for what I do, especially because my experience has been in dubbing, essentially, I always have everything. So these are games and these are series that have already come out in different countries. It's a Japanese series. It's a Korean series. So in a way it's easier, and in a way it's tougher. The way it's easier is just like you said, I have all the references I need. I can see a picture of the character. I can see what they're doing. I know what their mouth looks like, what their body looks like when I'm supposed to vocalize. However, dubbing is a very technical skill that I had to learn very early on, because if she's saying something in Japanese and it takes her 4 seconds to say, but it only takes me 2 seconds to say, well, I better find a way to stretch that double and make it sound natural. So you are having to fit in a very, very small parameter of the language that it was originally done in.
Right. Yeah, man, so all of these skills that you have for prepping, for working with a bunch of you were meant to. It's kind of weird into a mic. That's fantastic. I love that.
Thank you. It's so funny. It's funny you should say that. Thank you, because I went to school for theater, and a script was like that was my safety net. That was my life preserver. And as I got older, I really did just lose my memory. I do not have a good memory anymore. And I was terrified of improv, and I was terrified of speaking off the cuff. If I didn't have that baby blanket of somebody else's words to memorize, I would freeze. And now, well into my adult years, I am exactly the opposite. I mean, I couldn't be more different. Now it's, I love being a guest. Don't tell me in advance what you want to say. Or, yeah, Adam, let's improv what did you say? Okay, let's try it. And with a script, I'm too afraid that I'll forget the words at this point.
I was going to ask if a lot of those, Nancy Grace and Minnesota Moms bits were prompted ahead of time. How, like, what percentage-wise were they?
Not only was I never told when we were going to improvise, anytime you heard me do a character that wasn't Gwen Stefani that I've been doing since high school, just because it used to make my friends laugh, if it wasn't that, you probably heard it for the first time when I did.
Oh.
So I just...
Oh, brilliant.
After that many years with Adam, I got really comfortable, feeling really... I mean, he's going to hate this, but like feeling really safe to fail with him and safe to try stuff. So if he was like, what would Adele sound like? I don't know. I've never done it, but let's try it. Nancy Grace. Okay, well, just play her. Give me 10 seconds of her so I can at least hear it. So you were hearing it when I was hearing it.
That's awesome. That makes all of those so much more funny and hilarious. That's super. And it was funny. I mean, a lot of people called me out on this, and to that I'd say, you're absolutely right. That when Sarah Palin was more in the spotlight, and it was fun to do her,
then when she was out of the spotlight, I don't even remember how it started, but I started doing that little stupid character that Adam called Minnesota Mom. And people go, hey, isn't that just your Sarah Palin? And I would say, yes, it is. But you just try and make something new out of, some old thing in your tool belt because that's what's being asked of you. And nobody gave you a heads up.
Oh, that's so funny. Man, I wish my friends would put me on the spot like that and see what I would come up with.
It's fun, especially when you feel, the stakes are pretty high when you're on a show like that. But after so many years, you just kind of learn to trust the people around you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now, congratulations on the recent marriage.
Thank you. Am I still a newlywed? It's only been a year and a half.
Yeah.
Crazy. Wow. Newlywed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How long have you and Andy been together total?
I always have to find like a mile marker, like, okay, this was happening at that time. So I do it by my stepson's age. So we got together when he was in his 2s. So about 5 years we've been together.
That's a great time. I mean, either you've been together 6 months and it's like, let's get married.
Yeah.
Or like my wife and I were together 7 or 8 years before she decided to marry me.
I totally get her. She is my soul sister. My dad used to say when I was little, Gina doesn't do anything until she wants to do it. And I kind of took that idea and ran with it with marriage because everyone just assumes like, so is this your second, your third? I'm like, no. It's my first. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready till I was ready. And Andy and I had known each other for years. We worked together. We were in radio together. And he was in a relationship and I was in a relationship and we went off our separate ways. And then he was getting out of one and I was getting out of one. And the second he told me that, we went out to sort of commiserate and talk, and we have not spent a day apart.
Aw. That's beautiful.
Yeah, we were kind of we were the Jim and Pam of The Office, except not flirting. We were just really, really good friends. And then later I was like, do I?
Oh,
I love him. I think I love him.
So the history, the friendship before, it's like perfect foundation. And you have a stepson. And you've written a book, so now not only are you all of these fantastic things, you're an published author. Yeah. My Extra Mom.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's true. So, I was not married before. I don't have kids. It was kind of just a choice that was right for me. And so when this little toddler came into my life, I didn't really know what to do. I mean, I was a camp counselor for a million years and I have a great rapport with children, but I'd never lived with one. And so I went out to find a book that I could read to him and like we could kind of get to know what a stepmom is. And they didn't exist. Couldn't find anything. Went to the library, went to all the major bookstores. I was online. I just couldn't find anything that was what I needed. So I just kind of left it alone and we lived our life. And then a couple years later, I was like, you know what? I can save myself. I can be, we can be our own heroes. I'm going to write the book that I wish I had. And it's literally all of the things that we do together are in this book. So it has kind of a lot of ways in. It's obviously a children's book to show kids that like a new adult, which is like pretty intimidating and weird, coming into their life, living in their house, starting this new family, just kind of what that looks like and making that transition a little easier because it's weird. Showing the new stepmom, like these are some really good, easy, fast, fun ways to bond with a kid. These are all real examples. We do them here. Showing the dad, there might be a stepfather one coming, but for now, giving the dad maybe some, a bridge to sit down with the kid and get them used to the idea. And last but not least, having the primary mom, the biological mom, understand that like nobody's trying to replace you. I am an extra mom. I am an extra adult here to supervise and love this kid. And that is where that ends. And so I really hope that, everyone can benefit from every angle. And by the way, to society, we're not all wicked and evil and monsters. We're just women who are in your house and love your family. And we're super, very normal.
That's unfortunately, I wish that my ex-wife would have had similar thoughts because
interesting.
having gone through something similar that is not good, it all hinged on how willing the mom is to play ball. And you know, you try a million different things, a million different tactics, and if she's not willing to play ball, then man, it is super, super tough. So kudos to yourself, and kudos to Kid Boy. Is that how you refer to?
Yeah, he's the Kid Boy. I never call him by his name. He's Kid Boy.
Kid Boy, mom.
He's a kid. He's a boy. He's been Kid Boy my whole life. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I say this a lot. I say a lot of problems, it just seem to be driven by ego, and if we can just sort of step back from saying, from myself, from what my pride is, it's like things go so much easier, and especially if other people are involved. And it's I had a book title in mind called "The Fragility of Ego." I should have ChatGTP write it.
Yeah. Okay. I literally just had this conversation before I started talking to you. And you know what? To say terrifyingly, that's totally possible.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it right now and it would be done by the time we were done talking. But you're absolutely right. It's true. People are very, in general, we are all afraid of being replaced. We're all afraid of being insignificant or being rejected by the people we love. And it's like really, really scary. So I hope stuff like this is just like very gentle for all parties. Yes.
Right. Well, because ultimately what matters is the kid, right? It's like you want the kid to have the best possible position to be the best possible person. And you need a harmonious parental structure to be able to do that.
It helps. You know what? I think we can all say, because my dad was married, after my mom, and I was a kid of divorce. It helps. It's not necessary, but it would be nice.
It helps.
Yeah.
Well, Gina, I thank you so much. I promised that I would not go past 30 minutes, and I've already exceeded.
No, it's my fault for talking, and I would stay on as long as you want, except we have our tax appointment.
Oh, no problem. No problem. So tell us where we can find you. Tell us where we can get the book.
Thank you. Right now, it's going to be in bookstores, but that takes a little bit longer. So wait, sorry. This is a behind the scenes question. When are we airing this? When does this air?
Wednesday.
Okay, perfect. It is all available right now. Everything's available right now on Amazon, because at this moment, as we're recording, it's in pre-order. But everything's available on Amazon. Just put in My Extra Mom, or you can put in my name, Gina Grad, GINAGRAD. But My Extra Mom, the book should pop right up. And of course, I'm on all the socials. It's just my name: Twitter, Gina Grad; Facebook, Gina Grad; Instagram, Gina Grad; and My Extra Mom on Amazon. And it doesn't. If you're in this situation, I hope it helps. If one of your kids has a friend whose parents are divorced or has a step parent, this might be a really good way to help explain it to your kid what it's like in their house. So it's kind of for everyone, and I hope people get something out of it.
Beautiful. Well, you know what? Quickly, I've been using ChatGTP for a few weeks now, and I typed in 3 questions for podcaster radio personality that are unique and have never been asked before. They were all dumb.
What were they? Just give me one, please.
They were, if you could record a show anywhere in the world, where would you record it?
Let me answer that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you can record from anywhere. Why don't you just ask, where would you like to go on vacation? Go ahead.
The other one was, if you would make a show that didn't have human voices and only animal voices, what animal voices would they be?
I love that. Cats. Go ahead.
And the last one was, what is the strangest thing that's ever happened to you on the air?
Oh, we don't have time for that. I mean, the first one that will always come to mind, the most traumatic, and I mean that in a hilarious way, when we all had to get stripped down to our underwear on the Conway and Whitman show. This was back in the day where you could get away with this and get on a scale to see if we were, quote, 1,000 pounds of show, which was the funniest night of my life. Because I worked with 3. That's not on
YouTube, I assume.
It was. It's no longer. I worked with 3 really big husky guys back then. Big husky, and I was tiny. This was in my 20s, So yeah, it was really funny, but yeah, for sure traumatic.
Well, that's what ChatGTP came up with.
Your questions are way better.
I replied with, those are not unique and interesting. Then it apologized.
That's hysterical.
Well, again, thank you so much, Gina. I super appreciate it.
Oh, my
I'll
pleasure.
have all of your information in the show notes so people can check all that out. And thank you.
Thanks for having me. This was so much fun.